broke 23-year-old with zero coding experience has built an AI empire that now makes $2 million per month. Let me put that in perspective for you. This kid could buy 25 brand new Cybertrucks per month every single month. And the craziest part of this entire story is he did it in under a year with nothing but ChatGPT.
Like I said, I had like a very high level kind of understanding of technology, but I was certainly no software developer. So it really was as simple as asking ChatGPT, how do I build a mobile app?
Today, we're breaking down the exact steps that he took to net $15 million in revenue so you can apply them too. See, before Blake made a single dollar, he did one thing that almost everyone ignores, and if you skip it too, your business is doomed from day one. So every great business starts with a problem, right? And while most people think they're going to try and build the next Bitcoin, the truth is, often the simplest issues are the most profitable. For Blake, that problem was staring him right in the face. Blake's roommate kept struggling with getting replies from girls. We've all been there, right? And every time Blake would step in, type something clever, and boom, they'd get a response instantly. That's when it clicked. This wasn't just his roommate's problem, right? This was every guy's problem. If crafting this perfect flirty response was this much of a struggle, what if there was an app that could do it for them? An app that could analyze the conversation, generate the perfect reply, and basically be their personal texting coach. And just like that, the idea for RizGPT was born.
When I was graduating from school working on RizGPT, everyone was like, dude, what the fuck? If you're gonna pursue entrepreneurship, build something big, build something cool. I rejected that, and thankfully it ended up being a good decision.
This is something that present-day entrepreneurs tend to overlook. Sure, everyone wants to make money, but they usually complicate the process. To an extent, they believe that all the very simple, everyday problems have already been solved, so they're out looking for very complex problems. However, they ignore the fact that most people just want easy solutions to their problems. So the question to ask is there already any form of solution to this common issue? If not, there you have it, a business opportunity just for you. And if there is already a solution, the next question could be, can I provide a simpler and easier way to solve the problem? People love comfort and ease, and they really don't mind spending a couple of bucks to get that. This is what Blake understood and sought to exploit. And this simplicity would be reflected in his apps that he would go on to build. But before that, Blake would quickly run into a major issue, the same major issue that a lot of us would also run into. He'd picked a great idea, but had never coded a day in his life, and was too broke to afford any developers. For most people, this is where their dreams die. But what Blake did was put his dreams on fast track. So how did he do it? He sought out many different ways to bring his great ideas to fruition, and that's when he discovered ChatGPT. He was curious whether the idea could be brought to life by AI, and so without overanalyzing, he would begin working on an app alongside his co-founder Alex Lehman, a young guy in high school who shared the same passion as him. This quick approach put him ahead of anyone else who might have had the same idea, leading to a very nice $80,000 in monthly recurring revenue in the first month after the launch of the app. This was crazy. He just used ChatGPT to develop the entire app within a single month. From suggestions on app design to picking the right platform, ChatGPT walked him through every single step of the process, providing him with accurate information, resources, and recommendations.
ChatGPT essentially served as my tutor. It wrote the majority of the code.
He grabbed the most accessible tool and just made it work for him, aka he just used what he had. But this wouldn't mean everything was perfect.
When we first built the app, we didn't have all the basics. We didn't have notifications, reviews, right? We didn't have a formal backend, we didn't have a user table.
None of that matters to users. RizGPT was simple, easy to use, and it worked. That's all that counted. Blake didn't wait for perfection. He had an idea, built a functional version, and launched it fast. Too often, we get stuck in overthinking, tweaking, second-guessing, and chasing perfection, until the excitement fades, or worse, a competitor beats us to it. The real key, launch first, refine later. Get your product to market, see how the users respond, and improve based on real data, real feedback. That's how momentum is built and how Blake turned a rough idea into a viral success. But this was only Blake's first victory, because after he discovered this next strategy, his second app would not only do almost 4 times the monthly recurring revenue, but absolutely decimate the competition. In the lead up to the release of Umax, a Gen Z targeted looks maxing app, Blake noticed how much of an impact social media had on the growth of his previous app. So this time, he decided to double down on that angle. He didn't rely on generic ads to market his apps. Instead, he aimed to partner with influencers who already had his target audience at their fingertips. To execute, he reached out to upcoming looks maxing influencer Sam Zaya to help promote and publicize his new app. And with Sam's help, downloads began rolling in, reaching over $100,000 in revenue in the first 2 weeks of launch. They would then surpass the brutal competitors who were copying everything that made Umax unique.
So when they came on the scene, they popped off. I'm not going to lie. They got to the same number of downloads as us. What took us a month and a half, they did it in 2 weeks. But then from there on out, I think that we've 4x their downloads, we're 4x their revenue, and we've kind of become the name in the space.
The effectiveness of this influencer marketing campaign was pretty clear, causing Blake to be so intentional about having targeted partnerships in his third app, Cal AI, which performed even better, but we'll cover more on that later. In your business, you need to figure out what the most effective form of marketing would be. Nowadays, social media partnerships and running online ads is almost always the right solution for a business, since basically everyone in this day and age consumes online content. So I'd advise you pick one of these that resonates more within your specific niche. But what if you've already done that? And what if you do everything else I've already explained? Your dream could all get destroyed if you don't pick the right partnerships. And this almost happened to Blake in his very first app. As I mentioned before, Plug AI, which was formerly RizGPT, had become successful, bringing in hundreds of thousands of dollars per month. But you see, Blake ran into a common problem that plagues young founders. They all think their way's the best. Blake and his partner would begin to butt heads over the tiniest of issues, and they could no longer see eye to eye on any decision for the app. This probably delayed the growth of Plug AI. So, to avoid any further issues and preserve the growth of the app, Blake decided to leave the team, even though it was originally his idea.
One of my co-founders and I kind of started to go head to head in terms of where we thought the product should go. So we amicably split. I kept my equity, and I was essentially unemployed.
This is why it's extremely important to pick a partner that aligns with your long-term goals. You could say Blake was a little lucky because he kept his equity, but there have been many cases of people in similar situations ending up in long, drawn-out legal battles with someone you thought was your partner. Do not make this mistake. But I'm not saying to avoid all partnerships, because Blake's partnership for his third app was absolutely lethal. After successfully running Umax on his own, Blake would be approached by 16-year-old Zach Yadagari, who was looking to collaborate with Blake on his new app idea. But Blake wasn't about to rush into a new partnership. He'd learned the hard way that the right team can make or break a business. Before committing, he needs to make sure his partners shared the long-term vision and hunger for success. And in Zach, he saw a younger version of himself. Zach had been an entrepreneur since high school, building a website that skyrocketed to 5 million users and pulled in $5,000 a month in ad revenue. By the time he was ready to move on, he sold it for $100,000, proving he wasn't just another wannabe founder. But Zach wasn't alone. His best friend, Henry Langmack, had been by his side helping build and scale projects. Together, they had operational skills to take an idea from concept to execution. Blake saw the potential, and despite his past setbacks, he wasn't about to let fear hold him back. Most partnerships fail, but the right ones unlock insane opportunities for growth. And this opportunity would implement all of Blake's previous strategies, including his final strategy, which you can use to accelerate the growth of your business too.
Calorie tracking is like, it's fucking massive, right? There's no one individual who's leading this entire community or culture.
See, as opposed to Blake's previous apps, the next app would appeal to a much larger number of people. This meant that the revenue they could generate from this idea was absolutely insane.
The calorie tracking apps in the App Store have been around for years, and they've all been super outdated and antiquated. MyFitnessPal, everyone knows it as a convoluted app that's hard to use. I personally wanted to gain weight in the gym, bulk up, and I had to quit after 3 days. It was super annoying to track my calories.
Their vision was clear. They would modify calorie tracking by integrating AI, making it easier, smarter, and more precise. This collab led to the creation of something entirely new, Cal AI. Cal AI was built for anyone trying to track their health, from teens trying to get chiseled to stay-at-home mums trying to lose weight. Its broad appeal, coupled with Blake's playbook, meant for way faster growth for the company, skyrocketing to a massive $1 million in monthly recurring revenue just 6 months after the launch. Listen, whilst it's advised to start with something simple, at some point you're going to have to play with the big boys. That's if you are wanting those big boy results. Right now, Blake is already working on his next big thing, and we can only watch as he continues to disrupt the market. But the main difference between Blake and everybody else is he just took action. He didn't overthink it, he didn't wait, he just started. Now, I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please consider subscribing. If you'd like to work with me directly, there's a first link in the description for that. If there is a person or a company that you would like me to cover next, drop it in the comments section below. Peace. But the funny thing is Blake is already working on his next project. I'm going to be watching closely. We'll see what happens next.